Hello, Professor Cangelosi. It's very nice to have you on our show. And we will talk about the humanoid robot industry today. Figure just released its end-to-end VLA model named Helix. And Helix has the ability to grasp any object and realize the cooperation with robots. So from your point of view, how do you see those breakthroughs?
If you combine knowledge on vision, we see the world, on language, we communicate about the world, with motor control. In fact, part of my research is about modeling how robots simulate human language, human perception, and the experiments by Figure, but also by other robotics companies, show that this is really the right direction to try.
So you are an expert in the robot language learning. You started using the open source humanoid platform named iCube around 2009. So could you give an introduction of the iCube? And from iCube to nowadays, how do you see the evolution process with the robot language learning?
iCube was developed to model a child body and a child behavior, because part of our approach is that we want to model how a baby robot grows over time, acquiring knowledge. That's why you need a robot that looks like a child. This area is called developmental robotics because it copies developmental psychology. In developmental psychology, we observe how children learn to see the world, to name the first objects, and then to have complex language sentences. We do the same with our robots.
We see the rise of large AI language models. So with the tools like DeepSeek or ChatGPT, what changes were brought to the language learning for robots?
So definitely these tools are very useful to have dialogue. They are excellent, and DeepSeek has been an impressive development worldwide. But I would say, if I use the example, if I have a robot in my home and I ask the robot to make me a cup of tea, I want the robot to give me the cup of tea, not to give me a recipe. So DeepSeek, ChatGPT can only give me a recipe and I have to make my cup of tea because they don't understand language. So you want to help these robots to combine language, like language models, with perception, vision, with motor control. This is the field of, they are called vision language action models, which allow the integration of this because we understand language with our body, with our senses. The robots have to do the same.
So let's talk about the action intelligence. And we see that robots, they are stiff and maybe inflexible. It's not like humans. So the agility abilities is not compared to the humans. What are the technology bottlenecks for robots to be more flexible?
One way to look at the future of robotics is to look, we call the area soft robotics, to develop robots which have soft bodies. Our skin is soft, our body is relatively soft, so if I touch another person, it won't be very dangerous because we are soft. So we want the robot to be the same. So in some fields, the people are starting to develop like silicone-type material for safety, but in addition to the external body being soft, our internal control system is very soft. A rigid robot will program a perfect trajectory. We don't do this. We naturally move our body, and this body is part of this soft control system.
I just want to share one thing, that during the latest Chinese Spring Festival Gala, a batch of robots performed dancing, and it draws national attention. So we see the robots, they are not just appears in the factories or industrial manufacturing fields. It could be in everybody's life. So my question is, in your opinion, can humanoid robots become the new terminal market after PC and smartphones?
This is a slow process, very slow process. We will not have these robots working tomorrow with us. But of course, we are doing research and we show that this is possible with more investment. It is nice to see that in China, with the conference, for example, nowadays there is a very strong impetus and priority on robotics. I am an advisor for the Shanghai Innovator and Incubator for Humanoid Robots. So it's nice to see this. With these investments, then we can see these robots working with us in hospital, supporting patients, older people can have some companionship with these robots, or in schools you can have a robot which is like a teaching assistant for the teacher.
So we've seen the humanoid robots applied in some municipal service, such as a home service or medical care. So in your opinion, what's the biggest market for humanoid robots in the future?
Definitely robots to support companionship of older people, because our generations are getting older in all the countries. I heard today also in China, in Japan, in Europe. In some way, it's very hard to find carers. We are not developing robots to have carers. Robots are tools for carers. So I like to use an example. If my dad is poorly and my mom is taking care of my dad, it's very useful for a carer like my mom to have a tool, a robot, and maybe will monitor my father when she goes out for shopping. Our research aims to have tools that support us in our everyday roles and jobs.
But let robots assist human. It's a very nice picture, but there's some concerns maybe. Is the robots reliable? How to build up the trust?
Trust is very essential, because you could have a perfect robot that performs any task in a perfect way, but then if we don't trust them, they are useless. So we are doing research to show that, for example, if you give a humanoid robot the capability to use social attention, which show with gaze, as a tool to communicate trust, this is when people start to accept, because I can read the robot's intention by looking at the robot gaze, the robot gestures, so I can be reassured that the robot is going to do what I needed to do in a safe way.
And let's talk about a question about mass production of humanoid robots. Someone said maybe this year will be the first year of humanoid robots to be mass production. So what's your opinion?
Today I saw a talk with some very nice statistics showing that China is a market ready to do faster prototyping in production. This is good, but I would also say that we need to be cautious, because there is a lot of research to do, not on the body, which is doable, but also on the behavior, the intelligence. So we still need to do a lot of work, and of course having more robots, more easily available, more affordable for university or for companies, it's one way to allow progress in this field.
How far is the mass production, you think?
This is hard to say, because, for example, in AI, in 2022, with ChatGPT and then DeepSeek, we saw a sudden growth. Yeah. So we don't know what will happen. Maybe something similar, we will see something similar in the next few years. But I would say we can mass produce a robot which is specialized on one task. This is what happens in factories, repetitive tasks. But to have a robot that performs many tasks in a natural way, in an open environment, is something in which we need to work still for many years, I would say.
And you mentioned the price should be affordable, but a robot's price is very expensive nowadays. Often maybe hundreds of thousands to millions of yuan now, but how to address the issue of high cost? Is it possible to be cut down remarkably in near future?
I think there are two solutions to this. One, mass production will reduce the cost for sure. But again, maybe a cheaper robot will still be not affordable by a person. It's a bit like buying a car. We don't buy the car every time. So one solution to this is to, for example, lease a robot, rent a robot. I can use an example. Normally, social services from the municipalities are responsible to support and provide carers in houses of people. So we don't want the old person to buy the robot. The social services could buy a fleet, hundreds of these robots at a discounted price, and then they would lease these robots so that I, as an individual, will only need the robot for certain hours, for certain periods, so I only have to worry about the relative cost of a robot.
There are many methods of import and output, such as voice, gestures, and touch. And how do you see the multimodal integration applied in the humanoid robot industry?
But I would say that there wouldn't be any robot doing any interesting task without multimodality. Language systems only, DeepSeek, ChatGPT, they are useful for the conversation, but not for real-life tasks. Real-life tasks requires seeing the world, understanding that the world is made of objects and specific scenes and context, performing an action, so action, vision, and language, multimodal, they must be integrated for this system to be useful, because we are multimodal systems.
Let's talk about the robot-human collaboration. I think it's leading to a new kind of labor ecosystem. How do you see that?
Of course, this will change the way we do our job. So in industries, at the moment, you can have either people working alone or robots working alone. Our big cars are made by big robots living in a separate area because it's very dangerous to work with them. The future of manufacturing is the person and the robot working together. This is why you need the person is to read the intention of the robot from its behavior. The robot needs to understand the intention of the person so that you can have trust between human and robot interaction.
But there are some concerns that a lot of job opportunities will be handed over to the robots.
So my view is that up to now, technology has brought innovation, has brought changes to jobs. So some jobs disappear, other jobs have appeared. We are not producing carers that will substitute all carers for robots in older people's care. We are building tools that will allow these more people to be free and do other tasks.
Let's talk about China. I think China humanoid robot industry is speeding up, and on a national scale, the policy-driven initiatives continues to intensify. And how do you see the development environment for China humanoid robot industry?
There is clearly a drive from the local government. Shanghai has 2 innovation centers for humanoid robots. I understand also nationally there is a clear drive and investment to do this. And because building robots and building intelligence in robots is a very, very hard task, then an investment and ecosystem can really lead to success.
So do you have some cooperation projects going on or cooperation plans with Chinese companies?
I'm lucky to be involved in many cooperations with Chinese companies and organizations. In particular, I'm a pioneering advisor with the Shanghai Incubator for Humanoid Robotics. This is in addition to, I'm a professor in University of Manchester, so I also here work with many professors. In particular, I'm visiting very often Hohai University in Changzhou, and we work together on human-robot interaction and developments in this area.
The last question, with the rapid flourish of open source strategies, what changes has brought to the investment logic of the humanoid robot industry?
The benefits of open source and open access is that everybody can use your system and develop it further. If you allow a tool to be usable and extendable by others, more people will invest and will use the tool, so you can speed up progress. The open source allows also small entrants, small companies, small startups to start to invest because you don't have to worry about paying the royalties. So this can only bring benefits. Of course, companies need to make a profit, need to invest, and you can find modalities to do this. In society, I would say maybe there is a balance of private companies doing non-open source and open source, but definitely this is something important and good, and I guess it's part of the government's initiatives to support open source access.
Thank you for your wonderful perception.
Thank you.